Anybody been anywhere well and exotic? Daddy, you're always doing something. You been on any crazy trips lately? Okay. And end to end? How about anything else? I know some of you volunteered this last Saturday for the trail maintenance day down near Hornell, the section of the Finger Lakes Trail that Genesee Valley chapter maintains. Some of you volunteers here. You volunteers that were there for that, raise your hands. Okay, I guess we'll officially get started. My name is Reinhard Selmeyer. I'm chair of the Genesee Valley chapter, and I want to welcome you folks here to our monthly chapter meeting. Do we have any folks here that are first time to a chapter meeting? We're not going to ask you to stand up and give a speech or anything. Raise your hands. Okay, thank you. Welcome. Did folks get a chance to enjoy the eclipse? I say enjoy. We had a pretty heavy cloud cover in Rochester area, didn't we? But anyway, it was kind of quite a heartwarming. I don't know, I'm not saying the right thing, but it was a momentous occasion to be a part of, even though we couldn't fully view the eclipse, those of us that were here, right? Hey, next month, 120 years from now, I know I'm not going to be around for that. Yes? I'm going to pass on the eclipse dance, Patty. How about nice thanks for Jackson for doing the workshop? Sorry I had to cut you off, Jackson, but we appreciated it. And
you know, I'm getting used to it right now.
Just a couple of housekeeping things. You know, we got our emergency exits around in the corner there, over here. And also, if you would put your cell phone in silent mode, so we don't have any interruptions, it would be appreciated. And if you do require hearing assistance, we have our hearing loop right here outlined in the tape. If anybody needs hearing assistance, please sit in that area. And if we do have headphones available, if you don't have a decoil feature in your hearing aid. Okay, announcements. I know we have a few folks that would like to make some announcements. Dave?
Hi folks, my name is Dave Nichols. I'm past chair. One of my duties is really to help us as an all-volunteer organization to help us recognize those who have gone before us to make this chapter the great place it is. As part of that, we have the High Summit Honor Society, which really honors those volunteers who've gone above and beyond most of what the volunteers do and really makes our chapter so successful. I'm taking nominations now for the class of 2024 High Summit Honor Society inductees. So if you know somebody that you'd really like to recognize, someone who's been in the chapter and been active in the chapter for more than 10 years and has just gone well above most volunteer activities, please send me a note, let me know. I'll send you a nomination form, or you can also find the nomination form on our website. It's really important that we appreciate those who've done so much great work for this chapter to continue to be great. Thanks.
Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Mastro, and we are less than 2 months away from our annual Outdoor Expo, our 25th annual Outdoor Expo, June 8th, 2024. I am here to drum up some more interest for volunteers for the event. We have a little sign-up sheet over here, so if you have not signed up to volunteer already, please do so. We ask for 2 hours of your time, and a fabulous lunch is provided by Peg. So, if you haven't signed up already, like I said, please do. If you have any suggestions for last-minute clubs or organizations you'd like to see there, see me after the program and we'll get them invited. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dave and Sarah. Jansen. Go to this.
You know I have a big mouth. Hi, everybody!
Hey, Jackson!
You're in good form tonight. I'm sorry I did not have time to open the bookstore before we began this evening's activities, since I was involved with presenting the workshop. So if anyone would like to purchase something or at least look at the contents of the bookstore after tonight's program, I'll be glad to talk to you and see if I can help you then. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Our program chairperson, Katie Kuzik, is not able to make it tonight, but Jeremy Oliver, our vice chair, is going to introduce our program speakers for the evening. Jeremy?
If you like this, come back next month when I will be emceeing the meeting as Reinhardt will be away. These are speakers for tonight right in front of me. Ruth R.Dorrough is a section hike the entire North Country Scenic Trail, or the parts in existence over a number of years. And she's going to talk to us tonight to highlight her hikes, but also cool stuff that happened along the way, local attractions along the trail, like forts and museums and science centers and things of that nature, and talk about how her experiences on the North Country National Scenic Trail, I just say North Country Trail because it's a mouthful, how her experiences shaped her philosophy and encouraged her to volunteer on a local and national level for the betterment of the trail. Mary Coffin is going to talk about, she's been involved for the last 25 years or so, finished the trail through the Adirondacks. As you know, this is a work in progress. Mary has served on the North Country Trails Association Board of Directors and chaired the association's New York Volunteer Council, led trips, maintained the trail, constructed new sections of trail, and worked with agencies and stakeholders on all of that stuff. Currently, Mary helps to lead and coordinate a lot of the volunteer activity in the Adirondacks centered around the trail itself. And we'll talk about the current state of the trail and what's left to be completed to see the project through. So, oh yeah, and I'm going to pass around, after I hand them the microphone, I'm going to pass around a clipboard, and if you'd like more information, because they can't possibly tell you everything they know tonight in 45 minutes or so, please sign up, put your email, and you'll be able to get more information from them after the program. Thanks.
Exactly what I was thinking that day. But But then one of the kids said, look, there's another one farther down, another one. And we started following them. And we ended up discovering that that was the Bristol Hills branch of the Finger Lakes Trail. And then we started hiking Finger Lakes Trail, and it just kept following and going on and on. But let's talk about some of the preconceptions that I had. First of all, it's about adventure. To me, at that time, adventure meant going overseas. We did a lot of traveling around the world, and I lived in the Pacific on a remote island for 3 years, and that's what adventure was. It never occurred to me that I might find adventure on a Sunday afternoon walk. I also have to confess that I never thought these states would hold much for me. Dan's family's from Ohio, and we drove interstate down to southern Ohio for years and years, and I didn't think much about it. Also, we lived we had sedentary life fairly much. We liked to walk, but our careers didn't involve much activity, and I figured it was like only outdoorsy people or athletic people would do a long distance trail. This one, I never thought I could stand hiking in a group. We're both very quiet people, and we always just pretty much stayed by ourselves. But when we got into the Finger Lakes County Hike Series, then we found that it wasn't bad at all. In fact, it was very, very good. And the biggest one, I never really thought about it, but I thought trails were just there. It never occurred to me all that goes on behind maintaining, protecting a trail. So, a little bit about the trail. I skipped over those slides, but it's 4,800 miles, and it runs from the main junction of the Appalachian Trail in Vermont to the middle of North Dakota. It's administered by the National Park Service. And how did we do it? As was mentioned, we did section hiking, and basically we did it any way we could, one step at a time. We did it over 17 years. We were both working, so mostly we would do it vacations, particularly the farther away we got from home. The day after I retired, we had the van all packed, and we took off in April, and we didn't return home until October. And we did that for the next 3 years, which gives you a sense of the scope of the longest National Scenic Trail. It is twice as long as the Appalachian Trail, and so mostly we did it as a couple. The other times we did it in groups or with friends. We started out doing out and backs. Park the car, go out and come back. And it didn't take us long to realize that we would never live long enough to finish the trail that way. So then we used two vehicles, particularly the farther away we got from home. We bought an old van, we took the seats out of the back, and put a mattress in, and that's what we camped in. And then we had a Subaru. I drove the Subaru, and we would mostly do day hikes with one car at one end and the other at the other, and then come back at the end of the day. If we finished early enough, we would explore some of the area around where we stopped. So we did day hikes. There's parts that have to be backpacked, where there just isn't, wasn't possible. So we would do those because we couldn't do day hikes. And sometimes we'd stay in hotels, but mostly it was the van or tent camping. And then, particularly the farther west we got, people invited us into their homes. They would see us and just graciously invite us to come in. So, what was it like? Interesting, expansive. It provided us with an alluring goal. We do much better if we had a goal. And it was good fun. Yes, it was challenging. And yes, there are roadblocks. I'll talk a little bit more about them later. They were generally lovely country roadwalks, and the days were very rhythmic. We never had to have the discussion, what are we going to do today? Because it was always, we just would pick up the trail where we left off, particularly when we were doing it for so many months. The landscapes are so varied, with absolutely fascinating. I could hardly wait to see what was around the corner. So there's wilderness, spectacular wilderness. This is the border route in Minnesota. Urban areas, Dayton, Ohio, along the Great Lakes, and the prairie. I pictured the prairie as just sort of this flat, nothing, but it took my breath away, and I really came to love the prairie. Rural areas, and the roadwalks. They gave us a chance to meet people, and also the birds were much more noticeable when we were doing roadwalks. Most of them were very in remote areas and gave us a good feel for the area. The trail connects people as well as places. When I was preparing and cutting back to meet the time for tonight, I found the hardest thing I had to cut back was what I wanted to tell you about the people. The stories I had, so many for the people. This is staff and volunteers. This is a family. We were in North Dakota, and the lady in blue who pulled up in a car behind us, we were between prairie sections on a road, and she was a reporter for the local paper. The farmer had told her that we were in the area, and she invited us to come to her home. Best part of that night was the little boy on the end. There was a lull in the dinner, and he said, I know what I'm going to do when I grow up. I'm going to hike the North Country Trail. And that's the article she wrote. We met volunteers everywhere. This man in Minnesota said, sometimes when I'm working on the trail, I picture somebody in New York is working on this very same trail. And the people we met. In the beginning, we flew under the radar. We didn't let anybody know we were coming or anything like that. But then some of the chapters of the North Country Trail, there's 36 of them, found out about us, and they invited us to be part of hikes they were having, and we made some lifelong friends that way. Also, the trail is, there were a lot of people along the trail who didn't know that their house, their farm, was on the National Scenic Trail. And it was really fun talking to them about it. This man said, I wondered what those blue markers were on the trees. And trail magic has occurred on many, many of the roadwalks. These people invited us up for cold drinks. He had cold apples, and he let hikers camp on them. I never got homesick, and I adapted very well to life on the road. But one Sunday, we were walking in a farm area, and I saw a farmhouse, and there were a whole bunch of cars. It was Father's Day. together for Father's Day. And it just kind of passed, and I felt a little sad. We get back to the van, and one of the men in the orange shirt came down to the van and wondered what we were doing. He said everybody was texting each other in church saying there's a New York van down by the creek. But when he found out we were harmless, he invited us to join him. Uh-oh, I really need help. I've done something here.
Hit the escape button.
Do I have some help here to get this on? Are you allowed?
The machine.
I don't know what I do, but I have a tendency to do that anyway. So, this was at the home of that family that invited us in.
That made it worse.
Too many cooks in the Claire, you gotta get up there. There we go. And put that to full screen.
Anyway, I grew up in Boston and I knew nothing about farms. And was just amazed at the complexity, the skill, and the business acumen that's needed. And Eldon showed me all around the farm and let me get up on some of the equipment. And we're still in contact with these people. Try to make it foolproof if you can. I know he told me, but it was very hot, and they had an air-conditioned house. Oh, what a wonderful thing that was. We were walking on a road, and a woman came out in an ATV screaming, "Pedestrians, pedestrians!" And she pulled up, and once again, once we told her what we were doing, she invited us in and gave us cold drinks, and the husband took us out and showed us that, I think you can see it up top, it was an ice fishing vehicle that he made. In the bottom picture was a woman who was a prison warden, and she was telling us about a riot that occurred in the prison and how she protected the girl. She said, "My girl." So that was some of the very, very interesting people that we met. Those were bad and worse.
Doing good? I was just warmed up. Good to see you.
Click on slideshow.
There you go, right there. Click that. You did. Jerry has used slideshow.
Yes.
Decided they had enough out?
I guess so. A little bit smaller slides. How about that? Real. View.
Yes, we did StoryCorps.
I'm watching on StoryCorps. I just thought your voice was so calming to listen to. I just thought that was such a nice story. I hope that you give us the website so that everybody can look at that.
Well, thank you. Thank you, yes. One of the things that the North Country Trail Association is doing is recording some of the stories on StoryCorps. And everyone's experience is different. What other questions do you have?
Is it possible to do that trail as a, let's say, a through hike?
It is,
Yeah, and are there opportunities for resupply along the way?
yes.
Okay.
There's places that are tricky, but, and it's getting more and more developed, but there's where the chapters come in handy. Once they know somebody's coming, I literally felt like we were being handed gently, chapter to chapter to chapter, along the way. For one thing, there's only 20 people that have done the whole thing. And I think of that, what do you think, there are 6, half a dozen did it in 1 year. You have to, it gets very tricky because it's so long.
It's really hard to do in 1 year. So young people have done it 12 months, 13, 14 months,
and because of the weather, and because so much of it is north, some people who did it in 1 year started in Ohio, and then went to North Dakota, then came back to Ohio, and then went up to Vermont. So it's not easy, but it can be done, and it has been done. I don't know how much over the boat trail, but I do know this. If you can do New York, you can do the rest of the trail.
Ruth, I think you can continue with your presentation. You probably just got it, we'll keep it in an end mode and just go next screen and,
just keep doing
okay, I think that's the best we're going to get.
Okay,
Yeah.
there we go.
There you go. Good enough.
Okay, so as I mentioned, one of the purposes of the North Country Trail, it's not just a long distance trail, but it's to highlight the richness of the country and some of the wonderful places along there. So there's lots of woods and there's lots of wilderness, but there's also breaks. Oil drilling fields. The trail goes right through Serpent Mound in Ohio, the largest earthworks in the world. Ancient. This one wasn't on my bucket list. It's where the feds captured or killed Pretty Boy Floyd. Goes right by the Air Force Museum. We stopped and went in. Absolutely fascinating. Wright brothers. first atomic city in Piqua, Ohio. So, Ohio is much more interesting than I ever dreamed it would be. And much more beautiful. The trail goes right by the Rutherford B. Hayes Museum. And we stopped in. Absolutely fascinating. Very well done. And if you think things are chaotic now, it sure helped put him into perspective about the history of that election. Robotic milking facility in the Upper Peninsula. And in the Upper Peninsula, we were walking through forest and saw this sign, and after World War II, they put prisoners of war up there, captured prisoners of war, and we met some people who lived in that area, and they told us that they would hear the prisoners singing when they went off to work in the forests. They didn't have any fences or anything because where would you go? There's a prairie wetland center that's absolutely spectacular in Fergus, Minnesota. Every school day, the fourth graders study there. They have their classroom there, their teachers are there, and before school starts every morning, they have the kids go out on the prairie and they make them listen to the prayer. Absolute silence for it. We were there for monarch tagging, and I took it, captured one, and they tagged it, and then released it. Off he goes. The Iron Range in the Wasabi Trail. North Dakota had a lot of remnants from the Cold War. Went inside Oscar Zero for a tour. When you hike the trail east to west, you get a real feel for how the country expanded. And many people in the upper Midwest told us stories of how their families came to the area. This man in red said that his family came by the Erie Canal, and then they took a train to North Dakota, and they knew that there were some other people they were from Russia. And it started getting very cold, and they didn't know what they were going to do for the winter, so they decided they were going to dig out a place in the earth and put a wagon over it that they had. And a man came up on horseback and found them and said that his family was just over the hill. So they were saved, and from generation to generation that farm has been passed down. All right, challenges. Getting to the trailhead is very tricky in many parts. It's where being a through hiker would probably be easier. The wilderness presented challenges. This is the Kekakabik. When we went to pick up our permit, the ranger said, "Wear bright clothes because we've been pulling people out of there all summer." That's the Adirondack. It was a huge challenge. Thanks to Mary, we got through it. There's amazing volunteers, but not enough of them. Limited staffing and funding, and unrealistic expectations. Now that's me. I had unrealistic expectations. I was spoiled by the Finger Lakes Trail. And I thought that's what I expected other trails to be, but no way. It makes me really appreciate what we have here. And I just had to get over it and realize that I'm making my way through some places that look like this, or that, or they've gotten flooded. We couldn't find our way. Much improved now, finding your way because of the technology changes, logging changes, dogs. That was the one negative about road walks, was dogs. One of these bit me in the back of the leg. Cows. Particularly in North Dakota. We would just wade through cows. Beavers would have their own idea about where the trail should go. And then we were so naive. So we tried bikes sometimes. And this was the day when we were going to bike back to the car. We hiked and biked back to the car. We never thought it was sand. It was a sand road, and it was very, very hard. Fortunately, a ranger came along, popped our bikes in the back of his truck and took us back. One of the things people ask us, how did you avoid road support? This was the first time that Dan and I had been together every day, all day, month after month after month. I don't think I should really put it in as a challenge because it turned out to be a blessing. And fortunately, Dan is a computer programmer who, things that I would think were going to be an absolute disaster or crisis, he just viewed it as a bug. What are we going to do? And so we had a new motto, which was, we'll figure it out. How are we going to figure it out? Weather, did you hike in the rain? Some people said yes. Snow. Heat was the hardest for me. Wind, particularly in the North Dakota. So let's talk about the fun. The groups were fun, particularly the Finger Lakes Trail County Hike Series where we started out. The extended outings, we've been talking about some, we're all Mary's alumni on extended outings. This was Pictured Rocks. These were week-long events where all we had to do was show up and got taken care of. We did some ADK groups, backpacking or day hikes, and Buckeye Trail meetups. The Buckeye Trail is a really fun, fascinating place, and we met some great people in the meetups. So we did this crazy backpacking in Ohio and camped at, this is a school. And it was Memorial Day. We walked into a town, and veterans invited us to have lunch with them. Chapter groups. So, after being in the Upper Peninsula for weeks and weeks, just in the forest, it was getting close to Labor Day, and the only time we can cross the Mackinac Bridge is on Labor Day. So we drove down to the bridge and did the walk with 50,000 of our closest friends. And we were still smiling. It was a hoot. They had people wearing togas and clown outfits. That is no longer necessary, but I wouldn't miss it for the world. Quirky and serendipitous was always fun. In Hibbing, Minnesota, there's a Greyhound bus museum. It's also the home of Bob Dylan. The museum has all of the library had all Bob Dylan pictures all over it. We came out of the woods to Copper Peak with the huge ski slope thing. And had to laugh at this one. We stopped for ice cream in a little town in the Upper Peninsula, and everybody was driving these things. On the Buckeye Trail in Ohio, we were following the trail, and we happened to be there for German Heritage Days, and it went right through the trail in tent. So we just stopped and enjoyed German Heritage Days. And some wonderful celebrations to mark accomplishments. This was the Allegheny County end of the Finger Lakes Trail. And when we finished the whole Finger Lakes Trail, we had the blessing of Ed Sidoti being there to greet us. He was in his 90s then, and one of the reasons we kept going was he kept saying, if you're going to finish the trail, you better hurry up because I'm 92 now. My 70th birthday, we had just finished the Kekakavik. That was a celebration. And the biggest celebration was when we finished the trail, we just wanted, you know, we were happy, but we agreed to have it be part of the North Country Trail celebration in Fargo, North Dakota. And they gave us a real wonderful celebration. I'm so glad we did it. Champagne and everything. Quick trip through the trail. Just some pictures. Vermont. Beautiful long trail around Middlebury. Then you cross the Crown Point Bridge. Eastern Adirondacks. Adirondacks are beautiful. Mary will talk more about that. Casanova. Every time I leave New York and I come back, I think, why did I go anywhere? It's just so beautiful here. All Ohio. The western terminus of Lake Sakakawea. All right, so just for the record, I'm going to close with my confessions and what I learned and what changed in me and what motivated me to continue to volunteer. Adventure is not just in faraway, exotic places. It's a state of mind, and it can be found very close to home. I think children know that. These are amazing states, rich in history and adventure. And I learned I can do things I never, ever dreamed possible. We went on to hike the Ice Age Trail and the New England National Scenic Trail. Groups are full of support, fun, and new friends. Someone recently said to me, you know, many who join hiking groups, they're all introverts who like to get together to hike. And for the record, trails are just there. I learned that building, maintaining, protecting, and promoting trails requires an enormous amount of effort, patience, skill, and diplomacy. And there's nobody in the world that knows more about that or has actually lived that than Mary Coffin, and it's my great pleasure to turn things over to her.
Can you hang in there for a little bit? Unfortunately, of course, I have a presentation to make, and for like the first time in 30-some years, I have laryngitis tonight. So hopefully, this microphone is working, so you can understand me. And I will be focusing on the Adirondacks. For the Adirondack Mountain Club, I'll be focusing on the Adirondacks and zooming right into New York State. Probably most of you are aware that the first 422 miles of the North Country National Scenic Trail in New York State are on the Finger Lakes Trail. There are two trails that are concurrent, just like Route 5 and 20 are concurrent in certain places. And then my chapter, the Onondaga chapter, we have about 70 miles of the Finger Lakes Trail that we work on, and we actually built another additional 22 miles of trail to extend it to the Tioga Wildlife Management Area. I hope my voice is out. So I want to get right into the Adirondack Park because you are an Adirondack Club chapter. And you're probably very familiar with our 6 million acres. So I can go over this quite quickly. You know, you've heard many, many times about Article 14 that protects our trail and all state lands within the Adirondack Park. And kind of refer to it oftentimes, the boundary, as the blue line. So where do we go in the Adirondack Park? So let's get right down to that part. You can see that about, it crosses the park east to west, blue line through the central Adirondacks, because way back in the 70s, when they first were talking about this trail, they said, no way can you go over the high peaks. The high peaks were overused in the 70s. Think about how overused they are right now. But at any rate, at that time, they said, no way, you've got to go somewhere across the park south of the Adirondacks. So we actually have 81 miles of existing trail, which is handy. And then we have about 38 miles of new trail that needs to be built, most of it on public access land. Some of it's just chunks that are on private land. And those private land chunks are mostly lime timber and other private timber companies. And then we have temporary connectors, like any trail. Of our 4,800 miles of our trail, 3,200 miles are actually in the woods or someplace off-road, a real trail. And that's where we always have to try to get it off-road. Just like the next trail is forever, trying to move trail off-road into trail, into the woods. This is just a quickie view. If you wanted to end-to-end across the Adirondacks today, because we don't have it all built yet, we have to do some roadblocks. So we can kind of see that for now, there's a temporary route that goes all the way up to the Forge, and then takes Moose River Plains from inlet area down to West Canada Lakes Wilderness. I believe in chapter at one point maintained either the French Louis Trail or some sections in Pigeon Lake Wilderness. I think it was too long ago. But the trail will, when we finish it, will go right across here. These roadblocks will not exist. We really need to finish getting all the permits to get across here. And that's where we'll go when it's finished. I guess you're just learning to ignore all those other pictures that you see there. Focus on the big one. The big one's all we really see on our screen right here, of course. So mostly it's the wilderness and full forest
Can you
units.
hold your microphone closer, please?
A little bit closer, yes.
It's not picking you
I'm
up.
not sure which one is the one that's actually working. Is this better? I'm so sorry. I'm sucking on lozenges. I've been drinking honey. Trying to get my understood to be a little bit better understood. So these are the major land classifications that we go through in the Adirondacks, and I know you're quite familiar with them. Of course, this is non-motorized, so the only time you can even use a chainsaw is during the chainsaw windows. Other than that, no grass, nothing electronic, nothing motorized in any fashion. So it's a lot of hard work to actually build new trail within the Adirondacks. And this area has to be at least 10,000 contiguous acres. I know your church is quite familiar with all the wild areas because you have a patch that represents people who have actually gone to all of the a certain number of wilderness and wild forest areas. How am I doing with them? Am I getting better? Okay. The wild forest is a little bit less remote. I mean, we'll find snowmobiles in there. You will find bicycles and floatplanes. None of that will you find in the wilderness area at all. And you'll find very well-developed, well-maintained trails, more lean-tos and other kinds of human structures. So we cross wild forest, and we also cross wilderness areas. These are the public lands, just to give you your head, maybe you recognize some of these names. I just put that little UMP mark here to let you know which ones actually have unit management plans. So there's Black River Wild Forest, that's the westernmost one, easiest for you to get to, or for me from the Syracuse area. Moose River Plains, Wild Forest, Little Moose, Jessup River, and just a little bit. West Country Wilderness has a big chunk. Siamese Ponds has a big chunk. Vancouver Wild Forest, there's a lot of that part is up in the air, but we do want Moxon Mountain to be part of the trail there. Often Managed Wilderness has a big chunk, and we're working on that area right now, in Hammond Pond Wild Forest. Now, you may have heard some information from the Conservation Chair about all the litigation that was going on when Protect the Adirondacks was suing the DEC, and they sued back, and all that was going on. Well, that helped us quite a bit. That hampered what we could do in the forest. And what's happened now is that as of last summer, 2022, every single thing that a forester wants to do, whether it's make a pad for a kiosk, actually build a trail, make a parking lot a little bigger, they have to write like a little mini UMP for every single little project. We're building a trail 7 miles long, so that requires all of this. So that's another thing that holds us up. Fortunately, we do have a lot of unit foresters that support us. We meet with them every year, a couple times a year, to try to keep this project going. But they have to include the number of trees you have to cut between 1 and 3 inch breast high diameter. So think about some trails that are just filled with little baby red spruces in those areas. That's hundreds, just a little strip of trail that's 24 inches wide. That's 100 of what they count as trees. So it's very difficult to do anything now. The amount of soil disturbance as you're pinching out the trail to get down to hard soil, to get all the dump off. Rare endangered species, invasive species as well. So it has to go through this process, it actually has to go to public comment, just like the UMP, the unit management plan. So it's a lot of paperwork and background stuff before you can ever pick up a tool and continue working on your trail. We work mostly in August up there, and we're fighting very hard right now to get the trail to all the paperwork done so that we can work in August. In addition, we have some conservation easement areas that are mostly logging companies, and they have to be negotiated as well. And they have a process of what they call an RMP. You know, the government is lenders for everything. That's a recreational management plan. I'm guessing that this little thing is what's did out maybe. These are some of the areas here that where we have to work with private land through DEC, because DEC is the organization that manages all of the forest preserve. Forest preserve is a general word that means all of the land that's owned by the state within the blue line of our partners. It's a foot trail. It's a foot trail for all seasons. Everything you can think of that you might want to do on the trail that does not involve wheels or engines. Even these guys like our trail. And the trail is built to be sustainable and to lay lightly on the land as much as possible and be as environmentally friendly as possible. So we try to use the best practice trail development, a minimum amount of cut and fill when we're benching a trail. Here you see some of our volunteers working and benching a very steep hillside. Benching it is sort of like side hilling. We're possibly using open trails, cleared areas, skirting streams, wetlands, repair areas, proper drainage, you know, that's very important in the Adirondacks. Our nickname for the Adirondacks is a vertical swamp, so that's very important. Anything to minimize the grade, usually we use clinometers to get a grade of 10 to 15% incline, and we do little switchbacks. It's not like out west where you might see a zigzag from a switchback. The switchbacks are more of the climbing turn, more gradual, U-shaped turns. And minimal structure is needed to protect the resource. I'm not going to spend much time on maps, but this is the kind of map that we've been out between 2008 and 2015 and did a lot of off-trail work, GPSing, ground truthing, looking at where the trip could go, reporting to Albany, the planners at DC, planners in Albany, and then they would send us back a map like this with a thin line to represent an existing trail that we could use, and a big bubble called the corridor of opportunity, where we would have to go out as volunteers. DC didn't have the staff to do it, and as volunteers we would just scope out the area and send back our GPS coordinates to show them where we thought would make the best sustainable trail. This happens to be the part probably closest to you and me, from the Syracuse area, Black River Wild Forest. So we have to actually get off the road, find the Stone Dam Lake, cross over towards a little Woodhull Lake, and then eventually crossing the West Canada Wilderness. But we have to cross a lumber company first. And it's really important to take lots of notes when you're GPSing. It's easy just to push the button and get a coordinate, but when you get back home and you put it on your computer and you download it and want to send it to somebody, those notes are really helpful because your memory doesn't really serve you that well. That goes right down to it. I had a lot of people helping me when we were working on all of this. You'll see Ruth in the blue and her husband Dan in the blue shirt back there. And I call this group of people my BLTs, my Blue Line Trail Sweeps. My ADK chapter, Onondaga chapter, has adopted a number of trails in the Adirondacks. Here's some work. We've adopted the Little Wood-Up Trail. If your chapter is interested, you're farther from the park, however. If you're interested as a chapter or as an individual or a family, adopting a piece of trail to help maintain the trail, let me know. We're always looking for volunteers. I'm just going to move these maps along a little bit. I do want to focus on this one off the notch because this is where we've been doing a lot of the current work. We're already across West Canada Lake Wilderness. We're fully marked across Siamese Ponds Wilderness. But here's where we've been working the last 7 years. The big bubble, the big long bubble, marked Jones Hill. That's an area we've been working for 6 years. We hope to finish it this year. It goes over a little mountain called Jones Hill, beautiful views, and we hope to actually mark it. We can't mark anything until a couple requirements are met. We can't mark it as North Country. We have DEC markings, but you can't mark it as North Country until it goes road to road, and until it has been included in the Unit Management Plan, UMP. So we have those requirements. And this just shows a GPS track of up and over there. And you can see it comes out at the north end, just north of Squirrel Lake. And the Squirrel Lake folks have been supportive and very, very friendly on the trail. It's just north of Route 74, out on Route 9. And that's what you see if you come out and climb the summit. Some of the work the volunteers that BLTs have been doing is mentioned. There's years and years of duff and spongy organic material, rotting leaves, rotting roots, all tangled into a mesh. We have to get rid of all that. All those years in the wilderness area where nobody's ever done it ground, and get right down to mineral soil. Get all the humus out of there. Because the mineral soil is dry, hard-packed, firm, sustainable, and the organic material is spongy, it just holds water. You know that from hiking on trails, especially this time of year during the wet season. I just want to show this little clip. Somebody from my crew this year actually made a little tiny tape. It shows some of the work that's been done, and it kind of gives you a little glimpse into the camaraderie of working on a trail. Very wet, very buggy. We had to wear headbands all the time. It was kind of miserable working sometimes. But the crew person, if you get interested, every August we have a group that works for a week in the Adirondacks. And in August coming up, it'll be on the ADK website. And we're usually able to snaggle the DEC into complimentary camping because of working on the trail. And the DEC campground nearby, usually there's for the night. This is the end of the trail in New York State, where we cross the River Bridge to Vermont. The next part has sound, and I'm not sure how well it's going to work. I won't be doing any speaking. It's just some pretty pictures you'll see along the trail. And what I could do is just show a little part of it, and then if you have questions you want to ask of either of us, I know this was a very fast, quick overview of 25 years of work, but it does show a glimpse of what's going on in our state in the Adirondacks by a lot of different ADK chapters and individuals from chapters. So I don't know how the sound is going to work. Just do that. What are our next steps? We will keep working on the UMP amendments. We'll keep trying to get private easements from the local companies. And we'll still continue flattening trail, constructing trail, and once you have a trail, you must maintain it. So getting trail stewards who volunteer to take care of the trail, just like the Cougar Trail, which is one of the best maintained trails in the United States. We'll see if the sound comes up for this. Would be a good time for people to have some questions at the same time. This is what you're saying. Some of the names of some of these places are spots where you have to turn in the Adirondacks. These are things you can see from the trail. Across the Adirondacks. trails, and some with cameras. You can't imagine how much up and down slash bump that I had to do to put this into the concrete. So here are some we just threw in at the end. So I think you can turn the lights up at this point, and if you want to ask any questions that are left over in your mind, we'll do say a little bit about our patch. You've got a patch that involves going to wilderness and wild forest areas. This is a North Country patch, not an ADK patch, a North Country patch that encourages people to go to sections of the trail that are available right now. It's very family friendly. 1 mile, 1 hour.
That's it. I love the flyers.
Do we have any questions for Mary and Ruth?
Terrible.
What is ADAC stand for? ADAC, ADA.
Oh, is that? Oh, that's just an abbreviation. The reason we used ADAC.
Microphone!
The reason we use ADAC is because ADK is used all over the Adirondacks and with no connection to ADK Inc. So we happen to use the word ADAC for Adirondack.
She was standing right beside me.
Yeah.
If the trail is not really.
What big gift. There was no cars.
Oh, you have to like roadwalks in between. So there are sections that are completed, and there are sections that are on road. And that's the way the trail is. Ruth showed you the roadwalks all the way across. Out of the 4,800 miles, 3,200 miles is off-road. Not 100% yet. Same thing is true in the Adirondacks.
Is it possible to hike the whole trail by camping? In other words, if you weren't staying, sleeping in a van or staying at somebody's house, are there places where you can either...
You have to backpack. You cannot cross the Adirondacks without doing some degree of backpacking.
Well, that's what I mean. Can you do the whole trail by camping?
Oh, yes.
Are there any, in other words, are there any long sections of roadwalk where you might not be able to stealth camp?
The trickiest part is going to be in Ohio, the western part of Ohio.
I'll use the microphone if you would, please.
The Buckeye Trail is very aware of the need, and they have a very strong program going to build, to make sure that there are. That's the only place.
Any more questions? Okay, well, Mary and